I am Genevieve Ductain, and welcome to our latest instructor spotlight. Magnifica Beatrice Dominice della Campana is here. She's our wonderful online support coordinator, and she is going to give us an overview on the university's resources about teaching online, since our next session is going to be an online session. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you, Genevieve. Hello and welcome. As my co-staff member here so ably introduced me, I am Beatrice Domenici della Campana, called Beatrice by most. And I am the member of the University of Atlantia staff who supports our online sessions. And that takes a lot of forms, and I work hand in hand with a lot of our other staff members here at University of Atlantia. I work with our TA coordinator. I work with our instructor support. I work with our chancellor, with a whole bunch of our staff members. And we have, as you might imagine, quite a few people working behind the scenes to ensure that all of our sessions are set up correctly, that they run smoothly, and that our students and our instructors have the best experience possible. That's part of the reason we wanted to offer this class this evening, is to give prospective instructors a chance to find out what kind of support we can offer you, because we are always looking to include more instructors in our sessions and to invite more people to share their knowledge with the Kingdom of Atlantia and indeed with the known world. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start with the University of Atlantia website. And what you see here is the University of Atlantia website. This is university.atlantia.sca.org. And this is not logged in. This is the page that anyone can get to. There is a collapsible ribbon over here on the left-hand side. If you come in and you don't see that red ribbon over on the left-hand side, you can click these, what we call a hamburger menu, since it has two buns and then a little patty in the middle, the 3 lines, and click that, and that should open up that big right menu for you. Mobile menu is going to look a little bit differently, but it should still have this hamburger that's going to open up this menu for you. When you're not logged in, the top menu is going to say login. It'll link to the current catalog if we have a catalog available. If we're accepting class proposals, we don't have a catalog available because we're still soliciting classes from our instructors. If you're taking classes, there's information here. There's a how to instruct link here. We're not going to go into it because that's what I'm here for today. There's also a how to TA link. If you're interested in being one of our teaching assistants, that's a great place to go for more information. You can also reach out to our TA coordinator for more information on that. There's an FAQ here, frequently asked questions. You can also reach out to our staff. There is some information on online learning, some information on our degree system, a link to our bookstore with University of Atlantia merch, as our instructor spotlight coordinator is displaying oh so proudly today. And then our contact page. And I will go into our contact page for just a moment, because this shows you all of our staff, who they are, and how to get a hold of them. It starts with our chancellor and our deputy chancellor, our registrar and our deputy registrar, our TA coordinator and our deputy TA coordinator, TA being our teaching assistants. We'll get into their job and what they can do to support you as an instructor in just a little bit. Our web minister and our deputy web minister. We are looking for a deputy web minister. So if you have those kinds of skills and you're interested in supporting the University of Atlantia, and you happen to catch this while this position is still open, please do reach out to us. We have an external communications lead, and they are also looking for a deputy. They do our social media outreach and emails and those sorts of things. Then we have an instructor support coordinator. They work with our instructors to submit and run their classes, both in person and at university. And we have me here as your online support coordinator. I work exclusively with the online sessions. Then we have our video resources coordinator and our bursar who works with our bookstore in person and online. So that's the university staff. And as we add positions or change out personnel, you'll see that information on this page. Most of what we're looking for, though, you won't be able to see until you log into the University of Atlantia system. If you don't have a university login, and it uses the same login as the entire Atlantia system. So if you have a login for any of the Atlantean systems, as an officer, as a member of a polling order, or for any of those sorts of Atlantean systems, the Unified Atlantean System, UAS, I think is what it's called.
Our Atlantean Enterprise Login, AEL.
AEL, there we go. It's that same login for all these systems, including the University of Atlantia. If you don't have one of these, there is a register now link. Once you click on that login page, you can create that here. You do not have to be an SCA member or even a citizen of Atlantia to create an account here. But if you already have an account, please don't create a second one because we want to keep all your records in the same place. I need to log in as me. And my password's already in here. You don't have to wait for me to type it. And I will click login. Now you'll see this menu has changed. Now there's 3 new, or actually 4 or 5 new links over here. I've never counted them. There's a link to propose a class, which is where we're going to start in just a minute. There's a link to classes I'm taking and classes I'm teaching. So classes I'm taking will show me my schedule as a student. Once registration opens up, this will show all of the classes that I've chosen to register for. Classes I'm teaching is going to show the classes that I've proposed and that have been approved by the registrar or by the chancellor as part of the course proposal process. The Mark Classes Attended link here gets used during a session by instructors, sometimes by staff, to mark students as having attended their classes. And then the My Transcript link shows every class I've ever taught and ever attended listed by university session. But what we're going to look at right now is this Propose a Class link. And you can see it's right underneath the FAQ. We're going to click through to that, and we've just made a few changes to this form. So even if you've seen it before, you can go ahead and follow along with me. There's a note up here at the top. Instructors are asked to submit no more than a total of 3 hours of classes per session. That is to say, per weekend, unless that's been already pre-approved by the chancellor and registrar. That is so that if someone has to cancel, we don't have a huge gap in our schedule. It's also because we want our instructors to not overcommit themselves and not overstress themselves preparing too many classes. So 3 hours. If you think you have more to prepare or you'd like to offer more than that, reach out to the registrar, reach out to the chancellor, have a conversation with them. But in general, 3 hours is the max per weekend. The contact information here will automatically populate from your profile. You as an instructor will never need to fill out this top section. The next section here shows your course information. I'll make this window, we'll work from here. You'll notice only the first 3 here have this little asterisk that is what's required. That is your class title, your course description, and your class length. Please round your class time to the nearest hour. We only offer courses in 1-hour blocks. That is to say 50-minute sessions, since every hour block has 50 minutes of class time and then a 10-minute passing period. Both virtual and in-person classes, we allow 10 minutes passing to allow for class shuffle time, to allow for people to take care of whatever business they need to take care of between classes, whether that's getting more note-taking materials, getting a drink, getting up to take care of a call of nature, but we want to let a little bit of time and also to reset the clock. Some classes get out a little later, some classes wind up with a little bit of start late or end a little early, or maybe even start a little early, although we do try not to do that. So we want to make sure that we're starting on the hour, and with those few little changes, we want to give that 10-minute buffer so we're not running one class right into the other. You might have experienced that at the doctor's office, and it's always frustrating. But give us a class title. You can see I've got some test classes already in here. Give us a class description. Tell us what this class is about. This is for the university staff. This is also for your students because this will show up in the catalog. Please note if this has inappropriate material for younger students, if it addresses sensitive topics, or if there's any particular background information that your students are going to need to have to fully participate in your class. You can also indicate here if you plan to record this class. If there's any class fee, this is usually for in-person sessions, but occasionally there's a class fee for some sort of materials for a virtual session as well. That can be indicated here. The attendance limit. For most of our classes, this should be no larger than 50 students. If you want to be teaching a class that is larger than that, please, again, reach out to the chancellor, reach out to the registrar. Our classes should not be any larger than 50 students unless you've made those prior arrangements. Our preferred class time here is a drop down, and it will give you a list of all of the possible class times. I'm going to scroll this down so you can see them for the full session. All of the possible class times that we offer. For our winter session in 2025, we have 6 class times on Saturday, the 1st of February, and 4 class times on Sunday, the 2nd of February. For most of our virtual classes, or virtual sessions, I should say, we have just these 4 times on Sundays because our Saturday is an in-person session. If you have no preference, go ahead and leave this blank. If you have more than one preferred time, or if there are times you cannot teach, there's a box all the way at the end of the form for any additional information that goes just to our staff, to our schedulers. Please note those in the box that goes directly to our schedulers. If you have one particular time that you would like to teach, that's what this preferred class time is for. Your particular time zone should be set here. For most Atlanteans, that's going to be Eastern, which is why that defaults to EST. But if you're coming from another kingdom, that might be Australia, that might be Hawaii, that might be Greenwich Mean. Go ahead and choose the time zone here. These should be, I think, all of the time zones, or at least all of the groups of time zones for all of the kingdoms in the known world. And then you will select your kingdom from this drop down here. It again defaults to Atlantia since that's where the majority of our instructors come from. This next box is for your day of class contact information. This is how we can get a hold of you in the event that your students are looking for you, you haven't shown up to class, we have to cancel a class for some reason, there are questions that we have. How do we get a hold of you the day that classes are happening? That might be an email address, that might be a phone number, that might be a particular messenger service, whether that's Facebook or Discord or GChat. But please give us some way to get a hold of you that will reach you quickly on the day of classes. Your classroom hosting type gets chosen here. The default these days is the Great Hall. That's a university-provided Zoom where the vast majority of our classes are being offered these days. You do have the option to provide your own platform, but in that case, there are some caveats. You get to choose. You can use any meeting technology that allows students to attend at no cost to them, and that allows you to provide a full 50-minute class. The free version of Zoom, for example, only allows 40-minute classes, so that's not an acceptable platform. But you need to provide a class link. That class link needs to be to us by the 2 weeks prior to the session, and our university staff can't provide technical support or a TA, though you're welcome to find your own TA. But the default here is the university provided Zoom. I would say better than 90% of our classes. And we always hope for 100, but there's a few instructors who really prefer to provide their own platform, and so we give them that option. There is an option drop down here to tell us whether you're going to be recording your class or not. The class URL, there's some gray text here that the University of Atlantia will provide it. If you choose the other, this is where you would put your class URL for 2 weeks in advance. There's some other special requirement information that you can fill in this second box down. This first box here is any other login information that you might need to provide if you're using a different platform than the university Zoom. This special requirements will be visible to students. This next big box is visible to staff only. This is where you can put things like schedule requests. Those schedule requests might be, I can't teach at these times, or I would prefer to have this on Saturday but not Sunday, or in the afternoon, or after 2 p.m. Those kinds of general scheduling requests. You can also say, please don't schedule me against this person, or I would like to be scheduled at the same time as so-and-so is teaching. Those sorts of requests we will do our best to honor. There is sometimes constraints of the giant Tetris puzzle that is a university schedule. We can't guarantee that we will honor every request. We will do our best. There is always an instructor review period of about a week where the schedule is available for instructors to view, but is not yet public to students for registration. And if there's an issue where we either didn't see or weren't able to accommodate a special request for you, you can say, hey, is it possible? And we will see if it is possible, or if we tried and we couldn't, we will explain what happened. The very bottom here allows you to choose a course category. We use this information to try and avoid too many costuming classes all at the same time, for example. So give us an idea of what category your class might fall into. Is it a food and drink class? Is it a costume and textiles class? Is it a metalworking class? This will give us information about what kind of class it is. That'll give information also to your students. This will also give us some extra information for scheduling. The information in this next block is if your class is part of a class track. Not every class will be part of a class track, but if you have arranged with a track coordinator, or you have coordinated with a bunch of other instructors to offer an entire track of classes, then you have this box to give us information about where this class fits into that track. The tracks are filled in here once the track proposals are already in. The track proposals are due before course proposals are due. So there's a window after track proposals are in and before course proposals are due when this can be edited if you've already submitted your course, or where this information can be included if you're submitting your course after the track proposals are already in. You can also include, if you know, what order the class is in that track. This is also useful if you are a track coordinator and are submitting a bunch of classes for the instructors on your track. The last part of this is for class assistants. We have a fantastic teaching assistant coordinator and their assistant, and they are wonderful. about finding teaching assistants for our instructors who are looking for some extra help in the classroom. And we are going to talk next about what that entails and what can a TA do for you as an instructor. But this bottom part of the form is where you can say, yes, I would like a teaching instructor or a teaching assistant. If you want to request a teacher assistant, tick this box. You can leave this next box blank because you don't have that contact information yet. If you've already arranged for your own TA, you know that your friend is going to be in the class with you and is going to do the kinds of things that a TA will do. I have, for example, TA'd for friends of mine. Your TA's contact information can go in this box. Generally, what we want to know is enough information that we can find them in our system and that we can contact them the day of, same as we would need to contact you the day of classes. So an SCA name, a modern name if you have it, and some method of day of contact information. Much like for you, that could be a phone number, an email address, a messenger, whether that's Facebook or Discord or GChat, whatever that happens to be. But that information is what we're looking for from your already prearranged teaching assistant. That information goes in this box if you've arranged for your own TA. If all you're doing is requesting that we find a TA for you, you just tick the ticky box and leave this big box blank. Once you've filled out all that information, you hit Submit Class Proposal, and you'll see a next screen that confirms all of the information and types it all out for you. You're also going to get an email, and that email will also summarize all of your class information for you. So you have a record of it. It will also come up under Classes I'm Teaching. And when we click that, it will show you your pending classes. And these are the test classes that I put in earlier. So when you click on, when these are confirmed, they'll look like this under each session, and you'll see a whole history of all the classes you've taught on this same page. When these are approved, they'll no longer be highlighted in yellow, but that will be after course proposals are over and we've approved the catalog. But when we click through on the course title, you will see the course detail page. This is the same page that you use to mark attendance. When you are in your class, you can also come in here to edit your class. If you need to change any information in here, if you need to add a teaching assistant, if you're adding a co-instructor, if you want to change the course description, if you want to add information like a Google Drive link to a course handout, or your own contact information, although generally you just email that to your students. But this will show what session it's in, what the date is, how long the course is. When it's scheduled, the date and time will fill out. If there's a fee, the number of credits is the same number as the number of hours. The room will be assigned when it's scheduled. If there's a course category selected, it'll show up here. If there's a track you've chosen to be a part of, that'll show here. And then the course description shows down at the bottom. So this is what your class looks like once you've submitted it. And that's all there is to putting in a class. You can submit a class, right? If we go to propose a class, my contact information's already in. I can say, here's my class title, here's my course description. It defaults to 1 hour, which is pretty standard for a course. I come up with a title, I come up with a description. If you live in Atlantia, those default for you. Make sure you put your contact information in here. But if you're using the university Zoom, pick a category, maybe request a TA, and you're pretty much done. This is not a hard form to fill out. So you've proposed a class, right? We come here, we've got courses I'm teaching. Test of missing information, right? I have a class title, I have a class description. Now what do I do? Now what do I do? I have to teach a class. I'm going to have students. And this is going to get filled up. It's going to say attendees. It's going to say some number out of 50 if I haven't changed my default. And people are going to sign up and I'm going to have students. And what do I do? Well, you've got lots of options. So let's stop the screen share and let's think about the different ways that we can propose, or not necessarily propose, but present a class. You can do what I'm doing. You can talk to people. You can present information by having a lecture format effectively. You can do that if you know your material very well. You can do that effectively off the cuff. I don't generally recommend it unless you're an experienced instructor. For a first-time instructor, you want to write notes. You want to have a sense of what you're going to cover, of the talking points in order. You want to list them out. You want to put reminders under each of those talking points so that you remember, oh, when I'm talking about this topic, I want to remember this detail and this detail and this detail. And you don't have to write out a whole script. It can sound a little wooden. If you've ever taken one of those classes where someone's just reading the entire PowerPoint, that you don't want to do that to somebody. But if you write out sort of an outline of it, you can hit those talking points, give yourself a reminder of, okay, I'm going to talk about Elizabethan fashion. I'm going to talk about the petticoat. I'm going to talk about the farthingale. I'm going to talk about bodies. I'm going to talk about the foreskirt. And that will give me enough information to be able to talk about those things. Practice. If you want to practice teaching your class, get a hold of me, get a hold of our instructor support coordinator. We can set up a Zoom. We can help you practice presenting online. We can give you feedback. We are happy to help you be better instructors so that you can present your knowledge and your information here at the University of Atlantia. Say you don't want to do a lecture. You don't want to be just a talking head on a screen. You can create some PowerPoint slides. As I may have said a few minutes ago, you probably don't want to write out everything you're going to say on the PowerPoint slides and then read them to your class, because that could have been an email. Your most effective PowerPoint slides, as I learned many years ago, don't contain any more text than you can fit on a 3-inch by 3-inch Post-it note while writing with a Sharpie. That's it. That's as much text as you want on a PowerPoint slide. Your PowerPoint slides are most effective when they have photos, when they have images, when they have graphics, when they have graphs, when they are presenting visual information that can't be provided in text, that can't be provided in words. Sometimes that's videos. PowerPoint has a way, or Google Slides, you can embed video in them. I work at a university, and one of our professors had some challenges recently with some YouTube videos that he has been using for his class for many years. And YouTube recently changed how they deal with videos, and they started playing ads in his class when he went to the YouTube site, even when they were embedded in his PowerPoint. And all of a sudden, he's getting political ads in his classroom, which he doesn't want to listen to, his students don't want to listen to. And it turns out that there are browser extensions and programs you can download that will allow you to save entire videos off of YouTube and use them for not profit, for teaching, for those sorts of purposes. You want to be careful of copyright. You want to be careful of fair use. So make sure you're aware of how it is legal and not legal to use those sorts of videos and those sorts of tools. But once you have a video file, however you acquire that video file, you can then embed those video files into PowerPoint. You can show those videos that way. You can also have those video files available in a video player that isn't necessarily in PowerPoint, and you can share that window, much like I was sharing my Chrome window. So you have those options. I took a class from a costumer, and she had a web camera pointed at the table and had that webcam embedded in her PowerPoint. And she was showing stitches, and she was showing fabric samples live of her hands working on a table in the PowerPoint next to her slide text. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it turns out it's not hard to do. But you have to realize it's possible before you can figure out how to do it. And that's another option. If you're teaching some practical skill, some making art, or if you're showing a thing that's better in 3D where you can turn it over and show different pieces of it, maybe you want to have, rather than a laptop camera, a physical web camera, even if it's just your phone mounted somehow, and show that video live. Have it logged into the Zoom through a separate account and show that video aimed in a different place so that you can show what it is you're doing or the object being manipulated. That's another way to interact through a class that isn't a talking head and isn't a static PowerPoint presentation. You have the option to work live. A number of my classes are using online resources, and much as I did just now, I share a live web window of how I do the thing as I'm walking someone through it. That can work for a research class. That can work for a composition class. That can work for a Scribble class, depending on what it is you're looking at. There are a number of things where going through a not PowerPoint window, but a gallery of photos, for example. I had a local Laurel who teaches a class on period fabrics and brocades, and she has a folder of extant period fabrics, and she does a slideshow of the extant fabrics in chronological order. And that's her presentation. And she talks about where they're from and when they're from and where they were found and how they were woven and what the materials are and what the motifs are and how they adapt over time by showing you all of these different pieces of fabric that exist in museums all over the world. She doesn't have it in a PowerPoint. She just has all of these photos in a folder on her computer, and she opens them up in a photo viewer and clicks through them in order. You could teach a costuming class that way by getting a bunch of photos of people in garb and talk about here's what they're wearing and here's how it's constructed and here are the different layers. These are different ways to present information. You can send handouts or a link to a handout to your class in advance that edit the classes I'm teaching link, in addition to the link that says where you can click on your class title. All the way over on the right-hand side, there's a link that says email students. Let me show it to you. I'm going to go over back here to classes I'm teaching. And it just takes a minute to reload. So over here, it says email students. I'm going to use this one because it has an attendee on it. And I know it's a fake attendee. And this says my email. I can put a subject, I can put a message. Please note, please include your email in the body of the message and direct recipients to send their responses to that address only. Because emails sent through this system won't take replies. So if you don't include your email and tell people to reply to that email, they'll get this great message and not know how to get back to you. So please make sure that you follow those instructions up at the top. But this is going to let you send information to your students in advance. You can send them, if you have your handout ready to go, you can send your students that handout in advance, whether that's 5 minutes in advance of class so they can have it up on their screen and follow along with you, or you can send it to them 3 days in advance when registration closes, and then they can have read it and looked at it if they want to prior to class starting. You have that freedom. You also can use this months after class. I still have, on classes I'm teaching, I still have access to email all of the students from classes I taught in 2021. I can reach all of the students I taught Armory Rules under SINA back in 2021. I can send to all of those students email information about that course. I can send them a new handout. I can send them an update of the rules. Hey, this rule changed. Here's some cool new information. I can send to a costuming class. Hey, I found this new resource. You should go check it out. I found this new website. You can follow up with your students days, months, even years later with, hey, how's everybody doing? Any new projects? I'd love to see what you're working on. Or I found this new thing. Or, hey, everybody, I found out I made a mistake and somebody corrected me and I want you to have that new information. You can send all of that out to your students. You have that power. These email students links give you that possibility. They're very powerful. You can send people links the to the recording. If you record your class and post it on your own YouTube, or you post it to the University of Atlanta's YouTube and we record it for you, you can send them a link and say, hey, the class is up if you want to go back and take a look at it. The link is here.
And while you're still on this page, could you also show for your old classes, there's also the resubmit the class for the next session. You don't have to click on the link, but
Sure.
for people who have submitted a class, maybe you taught it in person and you want to try teaching it online, you don't have to retype everything. All you have to do is click the resubmit link and then it'll all be pre-filled in. Maybe you want to edit some things, but you don't have to start from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at it. So here is a class I taught on Renaissance Venice by the Colors. It was pretty popular. And I can click on resubmit class for the next university session. And it's going to copy the title, the description. It's going to copy my preferred class time. It's going to copy my time zone and my kingdom. It's going to copy all of the information I had, including my additional information, the course category. It's all here. So if this is all still the same, you want to double check because sometimes your preferred teaching time is different, or maybe you moved kingdoms. I don't know. Because you can repropose classes from years ago once you get started teaching, but it's all here. And if it's all still correct, all I have to do is click the resubmit and then hit submit class proposal. It's a 2-click process.
Exactly. We try to make it as easy as possible.
As easy as possible. As for the support you have available, we have teaching assistants. Our teaching assistants are available for a number of purposes. As my co-host here has shown, a teaching assistant is useful for keeping up with the meeting chat. When I'm instructing, I'm not necessarily watching the chat. So someone new comes in, my TA can take a moment to say to the new person where we're at and what's going on. They can take attendance in the class, write down all the names so that I don't have to be tracking who's coming in and what's going on with all of the participants. They can take questions and moderate the room for me so that I don't have to be concentrating as an instructor on anything other than instructing. If I, as an instructor, am less comfortable with technology, you can arrange with your teaching assistant to run the slides for you, to advance the slide deck, to do the shared screen. So all you have to do is present your material. Having a TA in the room makes a huge difference. And even as a very experienced instructor, I appreciate having a TA in my room. And I am always glad to be someone's TA because it makes classes run more smoothly. We are not yet at the point where a TA can actually enter attendance into the university system. That still has to be done either by the student in the class or by the instructor of the class, but it's one of the things that we're working on behind the scenes, and we're hoping to be able to implement at some point in the future. For now, though, it has to either be logged by each student in the class or by the instructor of the class. And so the TAs will take a list of names, usually from the participant list, or by having people type their name into the chat, and then get that list over either to the registrar of the university or to the instructor to make sure that attendance gets logged. As for what the staff can do for you, we can help with technical issues. We can help you make sure that you're set up correctly in terms of, does your video work? Does your audio work? Does your lighting, can we see you okay? Is your camera focusing correctly? Give you a chance to practice. We can set up a Zoom. We can go over your handout for you. I've done that for a number of instructors where they've sent me a handout and said, does this make sense? Because sometimes just having a second set of eyes on it that hasn't looked at 12 versions of it already, and goodness knows, I've looked at my own stuff and gone, I swear I have that in there, and no, I edited it out, or I copy and pasted the wrong way. And it's always easier to have a second set of eyes. Even the best writer needs an editor. We're here to support you. That's what University of Atlantia is for. That's what we're here for. Our registrar is here to make sure that the course catalog is as accurate as we can make it, and that we are accommodating as many of your scheduling requests as we can manage to make sure that our students are getting registered and that we deal with any course cancellations as streamlined as we possibly can. We always hope that we won't have to cancel, but the reality is that it happens, and we know that it happens, and we deal with it as it happens. We've got instructor support, we've got TAs, we have the online support coordinator, and we're all here to help our instructors. And we're here to help experienced instructors. We're here to help our brand new instructors. We are here for you. We are here for our students, and we are here for our instructors. And we would love to have you submit a class and come and teach for us and share your knowledge and your passion and your research and your joy in learning with the known world and with Atlantia. So if there's anything that we can do to make submitting a class and teaching for the University of Atlantia, online or in person, easier or friendlier, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask, because that's what we're here for. Thank you all for coming. If there's any questions I can answer for you, please type them in the chat for us.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can open it up to more questions for a little bit if that's what folks want to do. Again, thank you everyone for coming.